This is my 10 plus people for my 30-minute lecture on oxygen administration. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to this quick 30-minute lecture on oxygen administration. My name is Kevin. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for showing up. It's hard to get numbers. So I'll get started. Are you ready? All right. Oxygen administration. Everybody thinks of oxygen as something simple, right? Oxygen is where? Everywhere. So what percentage of oxygen is in the air now? Anybody know? 21%. Right now, everybody's breathing in a non-oxygen enriched environment, 21%, period. You exhale probably 12 to 18 of that. So your body doesn't use but just a little bit of it. But when you get into an oxygen-rich environment, so you're going to flood the cells with it. And we'll get into that as to why. So, why would we give oxygen? Anybody?
Create plant life.
As far as a patient, why would we give somebody oxygen?
Their oxygen saturation is
So they
low.
can breathe, live.
Yeah, their oxygen's low. So the causes would be trauma, cardiac events, acute onset of respiratory illness, chronic illness, COPD, pneumonia, and most of your trauma patients require high flow oxygen because of the blood loss itself, but the oxygen will be shunted to the organs first, always. Your brain needs two things to live: oxygen and sugar. Oxygen and sugar, period. If your sugar's low, your brain's going to die. If your oxygen is low, your brain's going to die. It's that simple. Your time without loss is about 4 to 6 minutes. So your body can go 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen, without irreversible brain damage. So we have several devices that we use to deliver that oxygen with. We use a nasal cannula, which is the little swallow tube that comes around and goes in your nose. We use a partial rebreather mask that you'll see that goes over the face that has a port on each side that's open. And then you see one that's a total non-rebreather that has the bag under it. We use a neb mask, which is for like your asthma. So we'll give the medication actually in line through that mask. And then there's the bag valve mask. So if you're not breathing, we can take a bag. It looks like a bag. It fits over your nose and your mouth, and it forces air in. It's called positive pressure. So with all those individual devices, the nasal cannula runs anywhere from 1 to 6 liters per minute, which will give you 24 to 44% oxygen. So you can see room air is at 21. So if you're going to 24 to 44, right? So you're coming up some. That's kind of like you need some oxygen, but don't need a lot. So when you start going up with the partial rebreathers, run anywhere from 6 to 12. The non-rebreathers, I like to run them at 15, period. Because if I'm using that, your sats are usually extremely low. I'm trying to get them up. Our nebs run, it depends on the individual. Some of them use 6, some of them 12. It depends on your oxygen saturation at the beginning. Your bag valve mask run at 15 plus, because you're forcing air in to that system. So either you're going to have an in-home electric concentrator, or you're going to have a portable tank or a wall outlet at a facility. Either way, you have to attach the oxygen tubing from either the concentrator, the portable tank, or the wall outlet in order to get the oxygen to you, okay? So that tubing, it just pops on, it's easy. When you first do it, make sure it's on there good, because once you cut it on high, it'll start to flow, and it'll pop it off. All right. So everything runs off of the same tubing though. So you go from the tubing to either the cannula, the mask, the bag valve mask, the neb, whatever. It all goes from it's like the universal piece. It comes in every single pack. So what would be causes of like a chronic respiratory illness? Pneumonia, right. Well, that's not really chronic. That's more like an acute system, but like chronic smoking. And there's a lot of people that have never smoked a cigarette in their entire life, but they've been around people who have smoked forever. So that in itself has given them either asthma, bronchitis, emphysema, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is what they term it as. But going back to that, there are people that are oxygen deprived, that their normal O2 sats are 88, 90. That's where they live. That's where their body has adjusted to say, hey, this is my normal range. There was many years ago, there was not really a study, it was a common practice that we would use what they called a Venturi mask, that you could actually dial the flow on the mask itself to set to what percentage of oxygen you wanted that patient to receive. Because 20 years ago, they were on a oxygen is bad for everybody kit. That they were afraid that if somebody had COPD, that you would indeed knock out their hypoxic drive. Okay. So we want to make sure that we don't do that. Okay. So let's go back to our reasons for low O2 sat: illness, trauma, cardiac events. Okay. Illness, you're sick, you don't feel well, your body's not perfusing like it should. So when I say perfusing, I'm talking about the exchange of gases and nutrients on a cellular level. Does that make sense? All right. So of course your O2 sats are going to be low, but because your tissues aren't receiving what they want or what they need. So you'll require supplemental oxygen. Trauma is a whole different animal. Body goes into shock, it starts to shunt blood, oxygen, everything to the core and the brain. It doesn't care about your limbs. It only cares about this. That's it. And then after a while, it'll start to shunt to all of your organs. So that requires normally high flow of oxygen to keep all of the tissues oxygenated, because you don't want to lose any. And third, cardiac events. Cardiac events are basically like a blockage. What happens in people that have acute chest pain is that there's a part of the heart that's not getting blood. It's not getting blood, it's not getting oxygen, which indeed is where your pain comes from, is from the lack of oxygen going to the tissues in the heart. So therefore it leads to that myocardial infarct that causes all of your pain. So when somebody says, "Oh, I'm having a heart attack, my chest hurts," the first thing they do is grab, normally, because that tissue is hurting because it's not getting the required oxygen. So therefore, they would require additional oxygen from the word go, because they got this section of their heart that's not receiving it. So they're going to want it. They're going to need it. Questions, comments, concerns? Nothing? All right. Our devices again. Our nasal cannulas run at 1 to 6 liters at 24 to 44% oxygen. Our non-rebreathers will run 10 to 15 liters a minute. I'll give you about 90%. Well, if you remember, we started at 21. So now you've increased it from 21 to 90. A bag valve mask is at 15 plus liters a minute, and it's going to give you 90% or greater. So what would you think would be your worst case scenario that you would need if your O2 sats in the 60s? You're going to want as much as you can get. Most of your patients aren't going to be able to tell you where they live. They can't tell you, well, when I say where they live, where their oxygen stays, what is their normal. They don't. Most people honestly cannot tell you. Like, I can tell you from experience that most people that smoke or are chronic COPD patients build up CO2 and lack the oxygen. So their carbon dioxide will be higher and their oxygen will be lower, and their brains adjusted that. So they don't like freak out and start having hypoxic events when their oxygen stats are low. It's kind of like after a while the body equalizes itself out. Does that make sense?
Just so it's kind of like homeostasis.
Right, exactly. And Pierce, define that.
Homeostasis is where the body tries to maintain its condition and changes either temperature or, in this case, oxygen levels to match what it needs.
Homeostasis is the body's own way of regulating itself. See? So, but does that say that every single person can live with an O2 sat of 88? Absolutely not. There are some people that are chronic that live like 90, 92. When they drop to 85 or 80, they start shutting down. Hypoxia. Hypoxia is the body basically being deprived of oxygen, period. You'll hear it termed as a hypoxic event. Some of them will be labeled as a traumatic hypoxic event. Crushed trach, that's pretty, that's a traumatic hypoxic event. All the body systems and cells, as we said, require oxygen to survive. All of them, not some, all of them. Everything from your toes to your nose, your ears, everything requires oxygen. Does it require as much? Absolutely not. Like I said before, your brain needs two things, oxygen and sugar. It loves them. So the normal range is 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen, with what is termed as irreversible brain damage. I don't know how they did that study. I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to be part of that study. How long can you go without oxygen before you have brain damage? O2 sat ranges. So as we spoke earlier, and I want to say I got all my information for this particular lecture from the online resources for the American Red Cross. 2011 was the date. I was an unknown author. So that's where I got my resources from. Fabulous information. Normal O2 sat ranges, we'll say 95 to 100. If you're just normal, you don't smoke, you don't have any obstructions, any acute problems, anything going on, you're probably going to be 95 to 100. Mild hypoxia is deemed at 91 to 94. Moderate is 86 to 90. Severe is below 85. Now, as I said before, you've got some people that live at 90. Some people live at 88. According to the scale, they would be deemed as hypoxic, but their body has adjusted to it, as Pierce said, through homeostasis. So, yes, sir.
Is it possible for someone to live below 85?
I've not seen it, not for long. I've seen them do it, but not for any extended length of time. Usually, if you have a patient in the sets of the 80s, I'm trying to get them up as fast as I can. Now, understand that these O2 sat readings are off of a probe that either goes on your finger, your ear, or your toe. There's a lag time there. So by the time you get that data from either the finger, the toe, the nose, or whatever, you're 4 to 5 minutes behind already. So their stats have been like that for a while. So the only true way is for an end tidal, which goes on the ET tube that actually measures the retained carbon dioxide that's not off gas. And that's what kind of drives your brain and your body to breathe. The buildup of CO will actually cause your brain to engage and say, I need to breathe faster. And so you're moving air faster and you're not retaining it. So it'll off gas your CO2. If everything's working as it should. That's a big if. How we correct the hypoxia is through the oxygen administration. Now, there are people that can become oxygen toxic, oxygen toxicity. Going back to that, what we used to do 20 years ago was regulate the actual percentage of oxygen, because we didn't want to knock out what they call the hypoxic drive. which was the body's own will to breathe. So what they're saying now through the new studies and new research is that the probes and all your monitoring equipment only go to 100, right? So is it possible for somebody to have 110%? Absolutely. Is there any way for you to know it? No, there isn't. I like to keep all of my patients between 94 and 98, 99. When I get to the 100 range, I start backing off, because I can't tell you if they're above it. None of our equipment will measure the oxygen saturation above 100%. So you need to curb your oxygen administration accordingly. Also, it goes back to the old saying, don't treat the machine, treat your patient. If you're sitting there, Levi, and your O2 stat's at 90, and you're fine, and your blood pressure's good, and your heart rate's good, and your lung sounds are good, and you're able to talk and tell me what's going on, and everything's great, I'm not going to be as concerned about your O2 sat, because that's probably where you normally live. Now, if you start, people that start getting hypoxic their brain switches gears, and they will fight you. They will pull stuff off their face. You can put as much oxygen on their face as you want to. They'll pull it off, because they feel that they can't get air. They're suffocating. You can tell when a patient becomes severely hypoxic, because they are combative, because they feel like they cannot breathe, and they'll grasp at anything and everything. If you put on a mask, they'll pull it off.
Drowning victim.
Right.
A drowning victim.
Exactly. Just like a drowning victim. Because even though what you're doing is helping them, their brain doesn't see it. It's like, oh, I'm hypoxic. I have to get air. I want nothing on my face. I want to sit up. Everybody, I don't know why. Well, I know why, but most people with respiratory issues want to sit up. Want to be sitting up, and they want it cool. They don't want it hot. They want it cool, and they want to sit up. If they've got rails or fluid in their lungs, they for sure want to sit up, because when they lay back, everything levels out, and it literally feels like they're drowning. So they want to sit up, keep all that fluid in the bases. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. Smokers, COPD, always live lower than normal. The brain has adjusted. So, like I said, don't treat the machine. Treat your patient. All right. So we're going to go into oxygen toxicity. Oxygen toxicity is plain and simple. It's too much oxygen becomes toxic to the body. Look at it as a diver. When you dive, your body is compressed by the water, so you retain CO2, nitrogen, whatever. If you run an oxygen-enriched rig, you're probably going to become oxygen toxic at depth, because it can't come out, it's staying there. So the body needs CO2 to keep the balance. As I said before, the brain, the CO2 picks up from the brain says, hey, I need you to breathe faster, or if your CO2 is high, your brain will say, I need you to breathe slower. If everything's functioning as it should. CO2 monitoring is important. Most of your patients, like your chronic COPD patients, we have a device that's built into the nasal cannula that looks like a little bulb, that I can give you oxygen and at the same time measure your expired CO2 at the same time. So it tells me how much that you're retaining. So it tells me, one, what your O2 stat, how much I'm giving you. So I know I'm giving you some, but it tells me if I need to give you more or less as to what your brain actually needs. These slides here. Dangers. Why is oxygen dangerous? Everybody that has it in their house or car or van or ambulance or the big sticker, right? Danger. Why? It's flammable. Oxygen itself doesn't burn, but it supports combustion. So in an oxygen-rich environment, it will accelerate it. I say that because there's a proven event that transpired in an ICU room. ICUs are closed up, so the patient was obviously hypoxic. They were having some issues. They had them on high flow O2. They had the doors closed. Well, oxygen's going in the mask. It's coming out. It's building up in the room. The patient had a cardiac event. They arrested. The code team goes in to do their thing. As soon as they put the pads on them and hit charge and shock, the room exploded. Oxygen-rich environment. Whether you're in an ambulance or a hospital room, keep that in mind. Once you make that an oxygen-rich environment, oxygen itself doesn't burn, but it will accelerate it and support it. So, no open flames, no smoking. I've seen many a patient with a nasal cannula in their nose, dragging an oxygen tank, smoking on a cigarette, and if you see them, if you notice, all this is, there's no hair, because it'll flash, and they're lucky to be alive. Summary. Needs, wants, supply, types, masks, and regulators. So our needs, we need oxygen, right? Everybody needs it. No, it doesn't matter who, what, when we're out. The percentage depends on how your body is, right? So you may need more than I need. You may need less than what I need. I'm a big guy. Wants. The body wants it. Hypoxia. Patients will be combative, and so you want to be observant and aware. Know what's going on. Supply. Supply is a relatively simple fix. It's a tube that's either coming from a concentrator, a portable tank, or a wall system. Okay, it's going to go from the outlet to the device, where the device is a cannula, a mask, a bag valve mask, a neb kit, whatever. Okay. Regulators. I haven't touched a whole lot on that. Portable tanks have a regulator. Basically, it takes it from a high pressure to a low pressure. I want to say the tanks are set at like 50 psi or something. So you know it's probably higher than 50. So you want to come from that 50 down to where it's a usable amount. Because if you didn't, it would blow out their lungs. So, questions, comments on oxygen administration, do's, don'ts, why not? So, the overview would be oxygen administration. We give it to maintain, as Pierce said, homeostasis. So if the body is unable to do it by itself, we help it with the offset of the oxygen administration. The type of device that you use is not dependent upon your choice. It depends on the patient needs and what you have on hand at the time. So we're to maintain a good healthy status around 94 to 96 was optimal. But keep in mind, some people don't live there normally. Treat the patient, not the machine. Be conscious of your CO levels. How much CO is the body retaining, or your CO2 rather? How much CO2 is the body actually retaining? So, if your patient becomes hypoxic, they're probably going to be agitated, combative, and you're not going to be able to keep them still. We use a device called CPAP, which is continuous positive airway pressure. The patient has a lot of fluid, and they just cannot breathe. They can't ventilate. We'll use this system. It's a mask that goes on that keeps a certain amount of airway pressure open. So it keeps their lungs kind of inflated and helps push that fluid out. And they're not going to lay backwards. They're going to sit up. And they're going to be, most of the time, agitated and combative and do not want to wear that mask. But that mask